We often talk about accountability as far as saying, oh, this work needs to get done. You didn't get it done, or you need to get this done. It's in a sense of imposing someone's will or putting someone's feet to the fire and saying, you need to do this. Reverse accountability, in my opinion, is basically saying, you actually don't need to do that. You're carrying this burden. You don't have to. Why are you working till 9 p.m.? The client's not even in the office. They need it first thing in the morning. Why are you working on Christmas? Are you trying to get ahead of things and hustle? Is anyone going to respond to whatever you're working on if you're sending in an email? No, they're probably going to take most of the week off. In our best situations, we're able to have people around us. In our best situations, we're able to have people around us that will tell us to stop our perfectionism, to stop our anxious working, to stop scrolling. We have this reverse accountability to say you don't have to be accountable for that. You can stop. There's always that moment, you might have experienced that, when you're really, really tired, but you want to watch this show or you want to finish this book, and it's worth the irony of losing sleep over reading the book Rest is Resistance. But you want to finish that book, and then you have this moment where you realize you you have to read this passage 5 times because you can't understand the words, and it's in your language. Or you have to rewind the show you're streaming because you realize you missed 5 minutes of dialogue because you're so exhausted. Work is the exact same way. So if your axe isn't sharp enough, excuse me, if you're exhausted but you're pushing through, if you figured your rest later, you're gonna have diminished returns. So even if you say, I'm gonna get ahead of the game for this upcoming year, I'm gonna work straight through this vacation. That's up to you. I've done it before. No judgment from me. Likely though, depending on what you got going on and where you're at and what your resources are as far as energy and age and whatever, you're going to have diminished returns. Worst of all, when you actually do get back into the grind and everyone's back at work on January 6th or whatever day it is, January 4th, once that happens, you're going to be exhausted and then your performance is going to be poor then. That might be end up being worse than you just taking a couple of days off that you obviously sorely need. If we don't have anyone on our coattails pulling at our coattails, not on our coattails, that would be weird. You'd fall over, but pulling on our coattails, saying, "Yo, you seem like you need to stop." Then we're just kind of on our own. Again, as I was talking about with the independent Institute for Independent Journalists, again, the link is below for the conference. As I was talking about with my own work, if you're doing stuff on your own, then it's even twice as important to have that level of reverse accountability. Someone's going to say, "Hey, Damon, you've done enough. Hey, yo, you when are you going to take a break? Hey, I know you want to get this book done, this manuscript done. I know you want to finish editing this video. I know you want to do this for this client so you'll be ready in the upcoming year. But can you just take the afternoon off?" That's the type of pushback that we need, particularly when we're independent, because you know, as as much as we go independent and don't have the best view of having a boss, right? That's one of the reasons why we go independent. They're not all bad. And a good boss will pull you aside and be like, "Hey, Johnson, go home for the day. I know you've been through a lot. Just go home. I'll have someone else pick it up, or we'll just do it in the morning. It'll be fine. Just take the afternoon." We We don't have anybody like that. Yeah. I don't mean to make it sound sad. You know, we have families, we have people that would care about us. But as far as our work, we're in this arena alone. That's what the independent part means. That's what makes it different. So for independent, it's not just we have to be self-motivated and we can do whatever the hell we want. It's also that we have to create our own boundaries and limitations and guardrails to make sure that we stay healthy and on top of things, that our mental health is good, that our bodies are able to rest. You hear my allergies going. Everyone has allergies here in Las Vegas. And so even my body's saying, yo, did you hear my voice? My body's saying, yo, you want to wrap up this program today because we're about to go into rest mode. You need to go hang out with your family after this. There's signals that we have that when we're independent, we can power through those signals and not hear them. We need to have other people that are giving reverse accountability to say, yo, you don't have to do that right now. You should stop. You should rest. Hopefully, you're building up people or already have people around you who care about you enough to be like, particularly other independents. We got to take care of each other. That's such a key part of it. Did an episode way back when, episode 100. You're watching and hanging out with episode 401 right now. So a long time ago, I want to say it was early 2021, maybe summer 2021. Anyway, discover the secret to achieving success with a personal board. I talk about my own board of directors. You know who you are. I appreciate and love y'all. Handful of folks, not a bunch of people, but a handful of folks in that inner circle that personally and professionally be like, yo, you said you wanted this, but you're doing this. Hey, you seem really stressed out. Maybe you should take that afternoon. Just the stuff I was talking about and we were talking about earlier. You got to build it up yourself. I've been very fortunate and very strategic as far as building up the board of directors. There's some people that did not stay in that board seat, and there's some new people that come in. It's not a static thing. And sometimes you have a board of directors, someone on the board who fit one era of your life, and then later on you're like, oh, we don't really understand each other that well. When I started doing the show again 4 years ago, it's like I didn't know what I was doing. I never had a show before. I've been on other people's shows, I've hosted shows and done stuff behind the scenes and stuff, but I was like, I don't know. So then there were people on my board of directors who actually had done shows. And then we talk about burnout, because it's a real thing with the videos, talking about burnout, getting the right microphone, stuff like that, but also talking about how to balance this new venture. And thankfully, I had them because here I am 4 years later and still loving the process. Without them, it would have been a harder process. Anyway, this video right here from a few years ago talks about how to develop your own board of directors. If you're not sure where to start, one cool thing that I got into, particularly when the pandemic hit pretty hard a couple of years ago, was Lunch Club. Shout out to Lunch Club. Free service where you'll talk about your interests, da da da. And then usually on Monday morning, they'll send an email and say, hey, you want to meet somebody new this week? And if you're like, yeah, sure. And say, okay, what times are available? Kind of like Calendly. What times are available? Oh, I can meet somebody on Wednesday morning. All right, bet. And then it'll go away and be like, okay, you're meeting Jonathan on Wednesday morning at 10 p.m. It's like, oh, okay. And again, you put in your interests, your dislikes, all that stuff, and they pair you with someone who might be a good friend or a good colleague. I used it quite a bit, I want to say in 2022. I've talked about it on the show before. Um, I've met people through there that are doing amazing things in business. I met people in there where it was equivalent of meeting somebody at a party. And we just had a good conversation. It's like, hey, it was good meeting you. Take care of yourself. I never talked to them again. And there's some people that I'm still connected to through social media or even had other meetings with outside of Lunch Club. Wonderful variety of folks in there. I'm sure it's a lot bigger. I haven't been on there in a few months, but I'm sure it's a lot bigger than it was when I got on there when it first started or started to become a little bit popular in 2022. Be sure and check it out. If you're not sure where to start, you're all like, Damon, how do I get? Because you might find people that would fit into your board of directors there. And a lot of stuff that we talked about today, I address in the free newsletter. It's free every Wednesday at 5:55 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. It's delivered to you. Today's newsletter is over at joindamon.me. You can join it for free. And today's newsletter is Humanity Needs You, and balancing the humanity and the time and the effort it takes to connect with other people with the efficiency of getting through your to-do list. A really important tension that's kind of that secret behind why we have a hard time resting and what things are really worth our time. Yeah, I got a few family things going on tonight. Resting would be lovely, but my family is really important. And that's in the case of actually resting later. I can rest later. Me pushing out another video or doing this, that. Mm-hmm. Spending an hour on social media replying to things. What is really worth our time? And with everything going on in the world, in America, and all that, the reason why I did this episode is because I think our time is going to become a lot more precious. Because there's going to be clowns dancing over here, and I don't mean crumping. Clowns dancing over here. It's going to be a conflict or whatever term you want to use happening over here. There will be folks that don't know how to process their anxiety about all the stuff that's happening in the world, who might need therapy, might need to go meditate somewhere, but don't know where to start, not sure how to process their generational trauma. They're doing something over here. And it's us doing, or you doing, your independent work trying to make an impact on the world. If you're not grounded in a certain way, if you're not getting your rest, your mental rest, your physical rest, your spiritual rest, if you're not doing that, you might not make it. I don't mean in a fatal way. I mean, you might not be making that impact that you should be making. I want you to make it. So get strategic. Carve out that rest. How are you going to take care of yourself in this upcoming year? Write it down. Figure it out. Hopefully the tools we talked about today will help with that. If you happen to be watching one of the replay clips or whatever, then the whole episodes will also be available at Bringingworth TV and now at twitch.tv. But the live streaming is kind of what's popping the most over at twitch.tv. Listen, I appreciate y'all. Hope you have a wonderful holiday. Oh, and in the comments, even if I catch it on the replay, how are you allowing other people to remind you when you're doing too much? And when other people tell you you're doing too much, how often do you listen? You can have the best board of directors in the world, but if you don't listen to them, it doesn't matter.